inaugurating the 25th state-level conference of the Karnataka State Assistant Inspectors of Labour held at the Conference Hall of Vidhanasauda, Bangalore. On 1st October 2006, the President stated that the directive principles of state policy towards labour were enshrined in the constitutions, enjoining that the state should secure the health and strength of the workers. Considerable stress should therefore be laid on those principles in dealing with labour problems. While reminding the officers of their duties, he asked them to bear in mind the objects of the various enactments with which they had to deal in the discharge of their duties. He pointed out that inasmuch as most of the small employers were ignorant of the provisions of the enactments and the forms and registers they had to maintain, the officers should deem it in an act of the social service, if not a duty, to educate such persons as to the way in which they should maintain the registers and submit returns. Indiscriminate prosecution of petty employers in small-scale industries and shops would defeat the purpose of legislation and also alienate the sympathy of the people. He also pointed out that any laxity in the discharge of their duties would lead to infraction of the rights of the workers, and it would ultimately result in industrial discontent and disturbance of industrial harmony, which were intended to be avoided by labor laws. Stressing the importance of re-employing a dismissed employee, he stated that it would be worthwhile to understand the significance of the word dismissal. Generally, the punishment of dismissal is resorted to only when the offence of misconduct which the employee is charged with and which is ultimately proved against him is of such a grave nature that his continuance is detrimental to the interests of the concern. In fact, in so far as service under government is concerned, two kinds of punishments, namely removal and dismissal, have been provided for in the statutory rules pertaining to disciplinary proceedings against government servants. Even though these two kinds of punishments are same in effect, there is a subtle difference between these two. That is, the penalty of the removal is imposed upon an employee when it is in the intention of the punishing authority not to debar him from future re-employment under government, whereas the punishment of dismissal is imposed when it is considered that the re-employment of the employee concerned under government is undesirable. It has been stated that dismissal should be resorted to only in the case of proved acts of misconduct involving moral turpitude. In other cases, it has been suggested that it is always safer and even proper for the management to order termination of the services of the employee and pay him what he is legally entitled to. So to say, management would do well to bestow deep consideration before inflicting the extreme penalty of dismissal upon erring employees once it is made an established rule that dismissals are to be ordered only in unavoidable cases. Many delicate situations and problems arising out of requests for re-employment coming later on from dismissed employees can be easily averted. This does not mean that in certain exceptional cases, the re-employment of a dismissed employee must not be considered at all. But instances of re-employment of an employee who was dismissed from service for good and sufficient reasons should be few and far between. That is, under certain special circumstances, the question of re-employing a dismissed employee may be considered. Even well-behaved employees do commit some serious mistakes sometimes. The minimum punishment for such misbehavior would legally and morally be one of dismissal, and so their services are dispensed with. As far as the employee is concerned, it would be nice if he makes his own efforts to settle down in some other office. Supposing this is found impossible, and supposing there is a chance of his being re-employed, in such a case he would do well not only to get the goodwill of his ex-employer, but he should also get the goodwill of his previous employers. On the other hand, supposing the employer is humane enough to re-employ the dismissed individual at the same pay last drawn by him, it would bring heartburning to the other faithful employees, and it would also remove the fear of dismissal and its dire consequences among them. Supposing re-employing the dismissed repenting employee in his own concern is the only solution, in such a case it is better the employer takes many of the important employees into his confidence, discusses things with them, and then invites the individual to rejoin the post. He can also re-employ the dismissed repenting individual, giving him lesser salary, telling him that if he is found fit and good after a period of 1 or 2 years, he would review the situation if possible. To put it short, the employment of dismissed employees offers legal and humane problems, and on account of his complexity, each case deserves careful consideration. Sir, I was one of those who witnessed the first test between England and India a few days back. Though the tempo of the test was such that the spectator had to resort to other means of entertainment, I took a little time thinking about the effort involved in the organization of a test. It definitely is a Herculean task. I must say tremendous effort must have gone into the organization of a test. The work should have started at least 2 months before the test and should have involved calling for tenders for different things like pendal, refreshment stalls, etc. Preparation of the pitch, providing amenities to the players and the pressmen coming from all over the country as well as from abroad, etc. are not an easy joke. I understand the executive committee forms several subcommittees to attend to various aspects of the show like finance, pitch, gate control, etc. Even then, the problem is not made easy. Gate control is a major problem which was very effectively tackled by the police and the home guards. I certainly should say that the number of illegal entries was the lowest this year. All praise to home guards and police. I also note that the corporation authorities have helped a lot in the provision of proper sanitation and good drinking water, which are of vital importance of the big army of spectators. The authorities of the club have done very well in spite of lot of obstacles. They must have congratulated on their success in staging is a test like this. Much of the brotheration would be at an end if there is a Pakka cricket stadium to stage matches. It would then be possible to provide much better amenities for the spectators like proper shade and reservation of seats for all classes, refreshments to reach all sections, etc. It appears efforts are underway to construct such a stadium. Let us hope before long their efforts would bear fruit. Further, much attention has to be paid for overall improvement in growing green pastures in and around the stadium so that it presents a favorable outlook to the spectators. I am yours.